Welcome back. Today's video is going to be fun as we are going to simulate field-oriented control. It's the right time to put our understanding to test. I will go over each block one by one and explain what it is doing. Also, note that I'm not going to teach the basics of MATLAB and Simulink, but even if you do not know it, I'm sure you will be able to follow along. I'm using the trial version of Motor Control block set. Everyone can download it and use it for 1 month. The link will be in the description. They already have a few examples, but it can get a bit complicated and overwhelming if you are a beginner. So it makes sense to start building the blocks on our own rather than directly using their example file. What we have here is a reference for ID and IQ current. The reference currents can come from an accelerator pedal, for example, but I have directly given 5 amps as reference for IQ. Next, we feed these currents to the current controller through a rate transition block. This block indicates what is the sampling time. We will get back to it after some time. Let us see what is there in the current control block. We have feedback values coming in. It consists of 3 values: the 3-phase currents, rotor position, and speed of the motor. If you remember from previous videos, we have to convert these 3-phase currents to DQ current. So let us do that using Clark and Park blocks. These blocks are available in the Simulink library, and you can use it directly rather than building your own Clark and Park. Next, we will have a separate PID controller for ID current and IQ current. I know we have not yet talked about PID controllers, so for now we will ignore this and consider it that the controller is already tuned. So these PID blocks calculate the error between reference and feedback, do something with that error, and output VD and VQ. We also have a torque estimator block which calculates torque according to this equation. Now, we will convert this VD and VQ back to VABC using inverse Clark and inverse Park. Now, we will feed VABC to a model of the motor. Note, we have not included inverter over here. We are bypassing the inverter considering that the inverter will produce the same VABC which we just calculated. However, we will include inverter in some other video once we talk about it. So, the motor model receives VABC and it outputs IABC, speed and rotor position. It uses the same equations that we discussed in the last video. This block is also available in the Simulink library. Let us run the simulation and see what is the output. We can open Data Inspector to see all these values. The first graph shows 4 values, the reference and feedback currents. Let us understand them. Let us first zoom to see what happens at the start. Initially, my current is 0, so the error for IQ current is 5 amps. To reduce this error, we need to produce some voltage. Hence, we see positive VQ. This will push the current in the motor. Now the current rises to 5 amps. So you do not need any more voltage and hence VQ drops. All this happens very fast in milliseconds. Now let's zoom out. Because of the current, torque will build up and we can see about 0.2 Newton meters of torque. Because of torque, speeds start increasing. The controller is still able to maintain 5 amps. But VQ keeps increasing and that is very important to understand. You can pause the video at this moment and try to understand on your own why does VQ increase even when my current is constant. The answer is related to back EMF. The speeds start increasing, the back EMF keeps increasing. So, the voltage difference between the inverter output and back EMF decreases. Since the difference is less, this will reduce the current. So, to maintain constant current, we need to increase the inverter output voltage. We can also see it using the equations we derived for ID and IQ. Let's check the equation for IQ. There are 2 speed dependent terms. The first term is 0 because ID is 0 and the second term is speed dependent which also depends on the rotor flux. So to maintain IQ current constant, or in other words to keep dIQ by dt equal to 0, I need to keep increasing the VQ as omega psi term increases. Otherwise, dIQ by dt will become negative and current will start decreasing. So we understood why the current decreases both mathematically and intuitively. Now, something happens around 2.2 seconds. The current falls even when the desired current is still 5 amps. This happens for the same reason. The back EMF keeps increasing, but the inverter output voltage cannot increase forever. At this point in time, the omega psi term will keep increasing, but VQ is constant. So, dIQ by dt is negative and IQ decreases. At a certain speed, the current will go to 0. So, our IQ term will go to 0 and omega psi will be equal to VQ. Hence, dIQ by dt will be 0 and current will remain 0. Since torque is proportional to current, torque also goes to 0. Therefore, the speed does not increase anymore and you have reached the maximum speed available with this setup. This speed is also called the base speed. In this case, the base speed is little above 500 radians per second. Now let us check out ID current. ID ref is 0 and we can see that the current is maintained 0 throughout. However, VD keeps increasing in the negative direction. We can understand this similarly using the equation for ID. Here, the speed dependent term is positive, hence VD needs to go negative in order to maintain dID by dt equal to 0. So these equations are very helpful in understanding how the system is behaving. We can plot some more values. Let us check out the three-phase currents. This is a zoomed in version. We can see nice sinusoidal waveforms. Also note that A leads B and B leads C. You can also observe one more thing. Initially, the frequency of current is less, but as speed increases, the frequency increases. So it matches with our theory. The amount of current flowing decides the torque and the frequency of current decides the speed. I would congratulate everyone who has understood everything until now, as it is not an easy concept to understand and absorb. If you still have not understood, I would suggest you see this video again, or even better, go ahead and start simulating on your own. Let us also see the ramp function. What you are seeing here is a normalized rotor angle, where one corresponds to 360 degrees or one full rotation. One more thing you should check out is the relationship between rotor angles and the current waveforms. The ramp starts right when the A phase current is 0 and decreasing. This happens due to the convention that A leads B, alpha leads beta, and 0 degree rotor angle is aligned with A axis. This is very important because if you change any of these conventions, the formulas change and the result. We have one more thing left to check out, and that is very important. Remember we saw the rate transition block and I told you that it is the sampling time? We will look at it in detail now. Well, this entire control system happens in a microcontroller and it is repeated at a specific interval decided by the interrupt time. In this case, the interval time is Ts and I have set Ts equal to 50 microseconds. So all calculations will happen within 50 microseconds in a microcontroller and it will repeat again. The best way to understand this is by looking at this example. Let us say you are driving a car and you need to take a right turn. Now assume this hypothetical situation in which you turn the steering but there is a delay before which the car responds. Let's say that the delay is 1 second. Then what will happen is, you will turn the steering but you won't see any impact. So you will turn it more. But by that time you would have gone straight and now the car finally responds and it takes a right turn. But it would take more right turn than necessary. So you have to again respond to it and eventually you will crash. This might lead to an unstable system as well. So faster you get the feedback from the system and faster you respond to it, the better it is. The same is the case with our control system. We would want to go faster than 50 microseconds also, but the limitation comes from the inverter as well as the capabilities of the microcontroller, as it does take some time to do the calculations. Generally, you will see engineers using value anywhere between 50 microseconds to 100 microseconds. If you can get faster, the better it would be. Now one more thing you should consider. The inverter and the motor are continuous systems in real life. But since we are using simulation, we have modeled the motor and the inverter digitally. What we have set here is, the motor will work 20 times faster than the control system. So from the control's point of view, the motor is almost continuous. So this current control block is working every 50 microseconds, whereas the motor block is doing calculations every 2.5 microseconds. I would highly recommend you to change the value of sampling times and play with it. You will get a much better understanding of the dynamics of the system. One more thing that I did not show you is the motor parameters. These are the values that I have used to simulate the motor. Feel free to change these values and see its impact. The challenge will come when you reduce the inductance of the motor. Try doing it on your own, I bet it will be interesting. With this, we will conclude the video. Know that this simulation is the basic working and we'll keep building upon it as and when we discuss more topics in future. Before we end this video, I would like to mention that the simulation files will be available in the description, but I highly recommend you not to touch it at all. Rather, simulate everything yourself if you truly want to learn. See you next time.